Hello everyone, it's Jen from Old Tinker Studio. In this tutorial, we will be learning how to make a procedural texture with Materialize and use the texture in Blender 2.9. This tutorial was a request from Conrad Kong, so let's get on with the tutorial. We will be making a material out of a photograph in Materialize and then bring it into Blender. According to the website, Materialize is a standalone tool for creating materials for use in games from images. You can create an entire material from a single image or import the textures you have and generate the textures you need. The link to download Materialize is in the description, and the link to the brick texture that I'm using is also in the description. We will begin by making the associated maps in Materialize to change the photograph into an actual material we can use in Blender. For our best results, make sure you use a clean image that is square. If we look at the results for bricks, we notice that some of the images have dark staining. These will not make very good materials because the light parts will be pushed up while the dark parts will be pushed back. These types of images will make it very difficult to get a clean material. Download an image of your choice, then open up Materialize, then click on O for Open under the Diffuse Map to import your image. You can use your middle mouse button to zoom in and out or to pan the view. Use your right mouse button to orbit around the image. If we click on Edit under the Diffuse panel, we can see what our material will look like. This is also referred to as an albedo map or a color map. The left side of the image is the original image, and the right side is what Materialize will output. You can use the Diffuse Reveal slider to change the position of the reveal. I won't be going into detail about every slider. Experiment on your own to see how each affects the material. I do know that I want to get as close to the original color as I can, so I move the Keep Original Color slider to 1. I will also change the final contrast to around 0.6. And I'll also change the final bias to around 0.17. When you're done with the edits, click on Set as Diffuse. Since this material is fairly flat, we don't really need to make a height map, but in order to make a normal map in Materialize, we must first make a height map. A height map is a grayscale image that is used to indicate how high off the surface a point is within the confines of a material. Dark colors will be pushed back into the mesh, while light colors will be pushed up from the mesh. In the case of the bricks, we want the dark grout lines to be dark enough that they will be pushed back into the mesh, while the lighter bricks will be pushed out from the mesh. So click on Create under the Height Map panel to open the options. You can choose to base the height map on the diffuse that we just made or the original diffuse. For me, the diffuse I just made will work. You can go ahead and play with the options to see how the height map changes. For me, I decided that default for the frequency weight is what I needed for this image, since it provides a blurry looking image, which is what we want. For the frequency contrast, Cracks works best for this image because it helps to knock back some of the dark areas from the actual bricks. For the final gain, I'll be using something around 0.1. For the final contrast, I'll be using something around 3.2. And for the final bias, I'll put that at around 0.5. I want to make sure that the bricks are as close to white as possible while the grout is much darker. The intermediate gray color will remain at a neutral height. When you're done with the edits, click on Set as Height Map. The normal map is an image that stores directions at each pixel of a mesh, that is, the normals. These types of maps are used to fake high poly details onto a low poly mesh. Click on Create under the Normal Map panel to open the options. Play with the sliders to see what each one does. We want to make sure that the normal map is purple. If there are any colors other than purple, play with the sliders until you achieve the ideal normal map. For me, the default works fine. When you're done with the edits, click on Set as Normal Map. We don't need a metallic map for this image, but I will show you what it looks like in Materialize. Metallic maps determine what part of the image will be metallic and which parts will not be metallic. White means that an area is considered metallic. Black means a non-metallic area. If this were a metallic image, the grout would not be considered metallic since it is a dark color, but the brick would be metallic if it was light enough in color. If you're making a metallic material, play with the sliders to see how the map changes. When you're done with the edits, click on Set as Metallic. Smoothness maps, referred to as glossy in Blender, determine how smooth or rough a surface is. White areas are reflective areas, whereas dark areas are rough areas. In the case of the bricks, everything will be black since we won't need any reflective areas. If you are using a metallic or other reflective material, play with the sliders to see how the map changes. When you're done with the edits, click on Set as Smoothness. Edge maps determine how sharp the edges of the image will be. White areas are reflective areas, whereas dark areas are rough areas. Play with the sliders and other options to see what they do to the image. For me, I will use the tight option for the frequency equalizer because I want the grout edges to be very crisp. When you're done with the edits, click on Set as Edge Map. Ambient Occlusion, or AO maps, determine how the diffuse or albedo map reacts to light. White areas pick up the most light, whereas dark areas are less reactive to light and act more like shadows. Play with the sliders and other options to see what they do to the image. For me, I'll use the defaults because I want some shadows on the actual bricks, and the grout is dark enough to produce the look I want. When you're done with the edits, click on Set as IO Map. To see how the material will look, select Show Full Material. Make any adjustments to the maps that you need to. You can preview each map and also edit the maps as needed. When you have all the maps completed, choose a file format. I would recommend either JPEG or PNG, but you can also use bitmap. Then choose Save Project and save the maps. Now we will import the textures into Blender. Make sure that you have the Node Wrangler add-on activated. Under the Shading workspace, Select the principled shader and use Ctrl, Shift, and T to open up the File View window, and select all of your maps. Since we use the Node Wrangler, all of the maps are automatically set up in their proper nodes. You can now make any adjustments you wish to the material. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.